For decades, Indigenous children were sent off to boarding schools in America and Canada. Recently, over 200 graves of children were discovered in British Columbia at one of those schools. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Emily Bloom. This school is just 300 miles away from Spokane. A vigil is just getting underway near City Hall this evening to remember the lives of those lost. Esther Bauer shows us how the trauma is still very much alive for members of the Indigenous community here in Spokane.
At these residential schools, children were taken from their family members and forced to live at the school. Indigenous people tell me it was to strip them of their native culture and identity. Now surviving family members are coming to terms with the tragedy that's just now coming to light.
How many graves is there? How many undocumented deaths from abuse, neglect from the boarding schools?
Kids getting shipped off to boarding school is something Leon Eagletail remembers all too well.
I didn't experience the boarding schools, but I experienced seeing the families crying and seeing the families going.
Some of his siblings had to attend these boarding schools run by the Catholic Church and government, and some who left never came back. Recently, 215 graves were discovered at the Kamloops Indian Residential School, just 300 miles away from Spokane.
The one they just found in Kamloops a couple of weeks ago has triggered the search of more schools. So we really have to address this history and its ongoing impacts to the Native community.
Impacts that Leon says causes many people to still turn to alcohol and drugs to cope.
This is a continuous and generational for 7, 8 generations. So now it's time for us to heal.
Taking steps forward to heal and acknowledge the trauma that so many people still feel to this day.
It's not ancient history. It is still to this day impacting a majority of the Native American people you're going to come across.
And to honor the 215 graves that were recently found, a 215-mile run is being planned here in Washington on June 19th. We have information up at KXLY.com if you want to get involved. Reporting in Spokane, Esther Bauer, 4 News Now.